Hey everybody, Jeremy here. Just a reminder that you can go to Duckfeed.tv/tipjar for all sorts of ways you can help support the network. We want to see more shows get made, and we want you guys to be rewarded for doing so. So go to Duckfeed.tv/tipjar, and you can see how to do that. Thanks, and enjoy the episode.
Normal Christmas food. Normal Christmas swamp rat. Normal Christmas
Gambit.
Normal Christmas
Children.
Normal Christmas
Oyster Lord.
Normal Christmas
TV. Gambit. 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 Warm it up. Warm it up.
I'm Jeremy Greer.
And I'm Gary Butterfield.
And this is Days of Christmas Past. And this is the podcast where Gary and I talk about every single animated show episode of the X-Men animated series. I could not have tripped over that intro even more if I had tried, Gary. I'm so sorry. I apologize.
No, it's
you try to make one joke in the middle and it just destroys your rhythm.
You know, when you improvise and you surprise yourself, it is very easy to do such things. I've done it myself. No court would convict you. This is our holiday special.
It is.
And we're covering the X-Men animated series Christmas episode, Have Yourself a Morlock Little X-Mas, whatever that means. And and this is the closest thing it happened to time out perfectly to being just a week or so before Christmas. And so happy holidays, everybody.
And before anybody hits that send tweet button, we're going to have another episode that's closer to Christmas, but it was also after Christmas. And I don't think you can have a Christmas special after Christmas. So go ahead and backspace that 280 characters telling me that I'm a bad person. Close your Twitter application and download and go open iTunes and rate and review this podcast.
Yes. As punishment. You know what you did. In addition, this is going to be a Christmas episode. I celebrate Christmas and stuff, but there are a host of winter holidays. They're all very important. Mm-hmm. The X-Men all celebrate Christmas, and the Morlocks, in their own way, celebrate Christmas. So that's what the specific holiday we'll be talking about. And this is the first time we've ever done one episode of the show on one episode of the podcast, and I think it is because this is, in many ways, the best the show gets as far as being bonkers.
Gary, you have been talking about this episode since the very first episode of this podcast. You have been making references to this, and in my mind, I didn't really have a clear memory of this, and I'm convinced now because I never ever saw this episode when it originally aired. Because watching it, like for the 3 times that I've watched it now, because I just kept pausing it and yelling, "Autumn, come here! You got to see this." It's so over the top and crazy, and it starts like from the jump, like it just busts in and like it's like the fucking Kool-Aid Man, and it just goes. It's great.
It is nonstop, amazing throughout the whole thing, and the reason why I've been talking about it since the show began is because of a little Morlock by name Table Boy, and I was under the impression, thinking about this and misremembering it, that he became a table which everyone ate Christmas dinner off of. What actually happens, I'm not convinced is better. I don't think it is. I think that it is actually somehow worse. And I had forgotten about a lot of the marvelous little details that happen in this. And this makes me wish that this cartoon had more of these episodes that are explicitly, like, this is supposed to be a comedy episode of the show, right? There are a lot of things that are just jokes, and they're all really good. Like, this is funny, and it's half funny on purpose. And the on purpose and the non on purpose stuff all lands pretty equally, I think.
Which is amazing for this show because, like, when it tries to be funny, it generally only is successful when it's like with Wolverine and Wolverine saying something, because otherwise it's just people saying like the weirdest shit in the world, like Rogue coming out with like a Southern witticism that doesn't make any sense or whatever that somebody in California made up. And it's the fact that all of these jokes actually kind of land, and it's a genuinely funny show, on top of the fact that it's totally fucking bonkers constantly, is just so great for me.
It is. Pretty undeniably my favorite episode of the show so far. This is extremely good. So
I just put a little surprise in there for you.
Man, the fact that he still has a human face when he's a table.
When he's a table, it's so good.
So we're going to get right into it. And even though we're only covering one episode, I imagine this will be lengthy because there's a lot of side digressions I want to make. Starting right off the beginning, because we have Yourself a Morlock Little Christmas. Jubilee's first Christmas with the X-Men doesn't go exactly as expected when she, Storm, and Wolverine become involved with a mission to save the Morlock child known as Leech. Now, Jeremy, we talked about this off air. I'm bringing it up again. Jubilee's first Christmas?
Very first Christmas.
Are you fucking kidding me? This has been less than a year?
So let's assume that she joins the X-Men on January 1st, right? Let's just assume that.
Best will in the world. It's not. It's very clearly actually summertime based on when she gets attacked in her house and everyone running around at night. It's even with the best will in the world, it's not January 1st. It's like May. Things have gotten warm enough to want to run around outside without a jacket. But even if it was January 1st and she's in California, maybe there's no snow or what have you. If it's January 1st, that's still a lot of things to have happened.
I mean, think about all of the things that have happened in the last 4 seasons of the show, Gary. This podcast has taken almost a year to get through.
All less than a year that Jubilee has not dealt with this. And it is just what the things this episode suggests about that, the things that suggest about what it's like to be a adopted kid and what that means for Christmas. There's a lot of Jubilee lore on top of everything else, but just the fact that 1 to 2 times a week, 6 times a month, the X-Men are going into space or going into the Savage Land or fighting Brood or doing any of these things. It happens constantly. What an exhausting existence.
There's only 52 weeks in a year.
Yeah.
We're not anywhere close to it being a full year, and we're about 80 episodes deep into this TV show.
Yeah.
So this has been almost twice a week for the last 6 months. Something bonkers has been happening to the X-Men, just constantly. Never letting up, no vacations.
They've never slept. It's just... Because some of these adventures definitely take place over multiple days.
The one day they were sleeping, that fucking dude from Egypt came in and messed up all their dreams.
The one time they tried to nap, the Shadow King came and
fucked him up,
wrecked shop. So it is. It makes me kind of feel a little bit more sympathetic to these X-Men fellas that I enjoy. It begins with them around the tree. There, and there's a kind of arrangement of music with sleigh bells and stuff to let you know that it's Christmassy. And they're singing Deck the Halls. And Cyclops can't sing. Everybody's fine except for Cyclops is doing the
Deck the halls with boughs of holly, fa la 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 la. 'Tis the season to be jolly, la 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 la. Perhaps you two better take over from here.
Deck the halls with boughs of holly. Just doing the playing a counter melody to everything.
It's not great, and but man, do I love the Christmas Grinch of Wolverine, because he is just not having any of this shit. Why doesn't Wolverine like Christmas? It doesn't make any sense.
I don't know,
Kid, the day you catch me singing Jingle Bells is the day pigs fly.
It's because he wants to stare into a fireplace and remember Nom, which is the actual episode begins. All the X-Men are just having this fun. They look over at Wolverine, and he is really starkly, dramatically lit by the fireplace, just staring into it, because he can't handle all this Christmas stuff. And Jubilee's like, "Hey, Wolverine, why don't you come sing? Cyclops is having his problem again." And she says it like he's referring to any number of more embarrassing problems than not being able to sing on key.
Yeah, he's got a hernia. Cyclops hernia stopping him from singing Jingle Bells.
Cyclops' erectile dysfunction is kicking in, and Jean kicked him out, and now he's down at the tree or something like that. Cyclops is having his problem again. And Wolverine is having none of it.
No, not at all. And
None of it.
Jubilee is just so crazy excited that this is her first Christmas. Like, she's literally a kid on Christmas at this point. And Rogue is right there with her, telling her she's going to have everyone's going to make her Christmas special. This is going to be so exciting. Like, it's just a really nice thing. And then they go to the kitchen. And Gary, this
hold on a second. I know, don't move too quick. Because also, when they're saying that your Christmas is going to be very special, Rogue hands her a star. And she says, "Wow, I've never had a star like this." It's just this basic ass like Christmas star. It is a really, really weird line. There's a couple of very like Jubilee is an alien learning about Earth culture like style lines in this. And that is one of them.
I realized that Jubilee was an orphan and she was with some foster parents, but presumably like orphanages aren't just like terrible and don't celebrate Christmas at all. They at least put a fucking tree up, right? Like maybe not everybody gets presents, but like everybody probably gets extra dessert that day or whatever.
Well, yeah. And as recently, at least at January 1st of that year, she lived with a foster family who genuinely seemed to care about her. Like, did they not celebrate Christmas? Is that the subtext here? There's something, but she's acting like she's never seen Christmas before. Literally ever, which, again, she's had a rough background, but it's, Xavier did kidnap her from a loving family. Like that is the premise of this show.
Well, I mean, technically the Sentinel kidnapped her. Xavier just saved her and then brought her back to his house and made her do chores like cleaning with beast fur.
And trained her in the art of medicine. And comms. But I've never had a star like this. Extremely weird line. Then we switch to the kitchen. I don't want to stop you from getting to your fun because this is one of the greatest scenes in the series history.
Oh, I absolutely love this. It's Jean and Gambit in the kitchen and stepping all over one another trying to cook some food. And it starts with Gambit criticizing Jean's like soup or whatever, and basically said,
"Oh, oof, what's this here you're cooking?"
It's called food, Gambit. Normal Christmas food.
This need a little Gambit magic. Little cayenne, little thyme.
If you want to keep that hand, stay away.
Man, it starts. So we got the script here, right? So like, you can actually say exactly what happens because it is extremely good. Because Gambit is immediately like they hate each other. From the beginning of the scene to the end of the scene, they're both so mad. Like Gambit, like tastes the soup. He's like, what's this here you're cooking? Like he's just immediately furious. And Jean's just like, it's called food, Gambit. Normal Christmas food. Like they have been like we come in 75% of the way through a existing fight. In Gambit, this just need a little Gambit magic, a little cayenne, a little thyme, and then Jean says something that if a series of women throughout history had said to Gambit, perhaps he wouldn't be quite so handsy and gross, which is, if you want to keep that hand, stay away, and telekinetically holds his hand and the cayenne pepper to the table.
I love this so much, man. We don't really see a lot of Gambit and Jean interacting, except for that one time that he tried to force himself on her at her wedding. So,
because apparently they hate each other.
They just cannot stand each other. This is the content that I crave, Gary. This is what I want to see.
I never knew. Like, I never knew that Gambit and Jean hate each other, but boy, do they hate each other. Gambit just trying to help. I don't need your help. Fury.
Oh, this is terrible. I love Gambit's like, you still know nothing about cooking no Christmas dinner. Like that is, I love that shit so much, man. This is just so good. I have the biggest smile on my face talking about this episode. This hardly ever happens to me.
We loop back with it. Like the adventures of Kitchen Jean and Kitchen Gambit like are a running C plot in this episode. So don't think that we've seen the last of these guys. So we switch over to Beast, and Beast is hanging out doing Christmas poetry. Of course, some, I don't know the actual poet, but some kind of Sir Walter. I don't know what it's referring to, but kind of doing poetry about Christmas and this Yuletide brew. We switch over to Xavier and Storm, and Xavier's like, this is the best Christmas I've ever had. All of my X-Men are here together, and Storm is really upset. Storm's like, seeing Jubilee being very happy makes me remember my own childhood. This immediately gets dropped.
It's never brought up again.
This is never brought up again. Like she's about to flashback, or the episode's about to be from her, and it's stolen because of this intruder alarm in Sector 9. Like this is like I feel like this is like the fifth naming like nomenclature they've used for different parts of the mansion. Where they burst in on Beast. Beast has created cranberry glaze that has exploded. The image here just looks like he is covered in blood.
Yep.
Like it looks like
he has dramatically cut himself and so blood all over his face. Like he's got a scalp cut or something.
Soaked. Yeah, he's literally soaked in blood, it looks like. It's such a grisly image.
It's so bad.
And Wolverine was like, yeah, thank God it's going to be an alarm. I want to fight some bad guys. And it turns out that, again, he just exploded this cranberry glaze, making science glaze, super, super goofy. And of course, he's intolerable about it. Like the chemical formula proved distressingly volatile, but the harmony of flavors is impeccable. It's cranberry glaze, dog. Like we all know what that tastes like. Like
you don't have to remake it from scratch. What the fuck are you doing, Beast?
Yeah. Beast, you have fucked everything up.
Beast is the goddamn worst. We transitioned to Wolverine, Storm, and Jubilee at a mall, and I guess this is supposed to be either Christmas Eve. This has got to be Christmas Eve, right? Like this is the.
It's specifically Christmas Eve because Jubilee's very excited about going out on Christmas Eve, and Wolverine's like, "You couldn't get me out there." She says, "Pretty please," and he says, "Like, I can't resist you." So they go and they do the shopping on Christmas Eve, where like Jubilee has bought tons of like just perfectly gift wrapped like present shaped presents,
and I want to keep that in mind because there's like 10 or 15 of these perfectly wrapped presents, and when they open them towards the end of the episode, I'm going to die.
Yeah, I know. Like you'll never guess what's inside these presents. They say they make a little bit of a hint about it here, but it is a goofy thing. And again, Jubilee is like, I've never had enough money to get people real gifts before. I've never been able to get nice gifts for people, which that makes sense, right? Like,
sure,
she should have seen a Christmas star. But, she wasn't getting paid in cars and being able to sell them on the market for Christmas gifts like she can now.
I'm assuming she's just trading those cars direct into Dillard's for store credit. Like just
driving into the coin return.
How much will you give me for this convertible? $2,000. That seems cheap.
2,000 wrapped presents for you to give. And she, big stack. It's real goofy. Until and Storm is also again just kind of sad here as well, but never happens until Wolverine gets assaulted by this perfume lady.
What is
who's like, would you like to try? Like has this like kind of Madam Miss Cleo accent, and like, would you like to try our newest fragrance for men? It's called Musk of the Wild, turns women into animals, and sprays Wolverine just like directly in the face. Which, given that we just dealt with an episode of him in therapy for rage, like you are lucky you did not get disemboweled, perfume demo lady. This like very well could have ended very badly for you.
I love that sirens start going off and Wolverine says, "I can smell them," as if to imply that he can smell the sound, right?
That's extremely good, but before it happens, and I'm sorry to keep cutting you off because
it's okay.
But they go ice skating, and Wolverine is perfectly ice skating around this rink before that happens. Like looks like serene and beautiful, doing perfect form ice skating, and that is when he smells the siren, which is and we're like 5 minutes into this episode. Right, so like so many things have happened that have been so good.
I have 6 minutes as that audio line is what I have noted down. So we're like 20 minutes into this podcast.
Oh man, something's happened up there, and then they head over, and an ambulance crashes through this wall and is going to bust through the ice, but Storm uses wind to gently set this thing down or like push it off to the side. Like if this is as powerful as wind has always been for you, like you have a lot of explaining to do. You've been derelict in your duties for this entire show.
Did you just learn how to do this? Like to lift a fucking van? Because you should be able to take care of a lot of people with this wind thing.
Oh, a lot of people. It is extremely, extremely goofy.
I've never and it's never been implied that she has this much control, but like she picks up the van and like slowly floats it over to the ice rink and then just sets it on top very carefully on top of the ice rink.
On top of the ice. It is a van too, so it has to not sink through. Apparently this does not stop the actual problem though, which is that the Morlocks, so were the Morlocks attacking the van, or did they just see this ambulance as a crime of opportunity? Like the Morlocks are somehow not stopped by the fact that the ambulance got moved. But the Morlocks show up, and this is like introduces delightful thing number 6 in this episode, which is Wolverine being the biggest dickhead that we've ever seen him be.
Live in the sewer. Wolverine, these are your people.
Hates them.
He
hates them.
You were known for going into the sewer and taking down bad guys. These are your brethren. Wolverine, what is wrong?
Well, and he's never been like on Team Morlock before. Like, I think that when they first showed up, he was probably like, sewer scum, and then like they call him at one point to lure them into the tunnels when Lady Death strikes down there, and he's like, we got to be better about who we hand our number to. But now he's just like, sewer trash would sell out their own mother for a dime. Like, he's become like he's incredibly cruel to the homeless all of a sudden. During the scene where 2 Morlocks, the old covered with scorpions lady and Table Boy walk up, Table Boy makes his hands really giant and rips the back door off this ambulance rather than opening it, which, like, okay. And apparently has super strength when he has giant hands. They're going to steal from this ambulance, and Wolverine just having none of it. You're stealing from an ambulance. How low can you go? You are the worst scum on earth. He calls him Tunnel Boy. And then they kind of escape from the sirens and do this little thing where they learn what they're doing. Like, they kind of have this little talk. During which Table Boy turns his hands into boat paddles.
Yeah.
Did you notice that?
I did.
Why?
And I can only imagine that, like, what it was supposed to be is those are like big snow shovels, like that you could put a lot of stuff in, because ostensibly they're stealing supplies for their sick friend, right? So maybe this was supposed to be like a shovel or like a big just like I don't know what the fuck is going on with this dude, man. Like, for all the world, it looks like boat paddles, and he's just piling stuff on top of his boat paddle hands, which seems like if you can change your body into anything, just make it like a box. Have someone.
Well, and he had them as giant hands before, and these paddles are definitely flatter and smaller. It is a really, really weird choice. And Wolverine is just saying there he's still kind of doing this in spite of it, while the grandma covered of scorpion ladies talks to Storm and explains what they're doing, which is Leech is extremely sick, and they waited to the last minute apparently to knock over an ambulance and hope that it has the right drugs.
Nobody ever said the Morlocks were smart. They've got a lot of heart, but they're not exactly like the world's brightest group of
people live in the sewer.
They're living in the
but again, like, whether the episode contains multitudes, like, I love that she's like, Storm, you're supposed to be the Morlock leader. Like, why don't you know this, and why don't you care? And I love that as an aspect. Like, that is a cool thing to follow up on in the show, that like Storm has just been out gallivanting and doing adventures, feeling sorry for herself about her shitty Christmas as a thief in Cairo, as opposed to taking care of her people. She worked hard to get leadership of the Morlocks, and then just immediately left them to watch TV with the babysitter or what have you.
And this is going to come up continually through the episode, and it's a pretty deep callback. Like, that's season 1 shit, right? Like, and we haven't even seen the Morlocks. Like, some of the individual Morlocks have popped up here and there, but we haven't really had a Morlock episode in a long time.
No. So pretty cool. So Storm gives them cover, like uses fog or what have you, like lets them escape. They need this medical stuff. Jubilee doesn't want to leave her presents behind. It's like, we're going to miss Christmas dinner. That is supposed to be the arc for this episode, is Jubilee and Wolverine learning about this true Christmas spirit from different angles. But they go into the sewer where Callisto is hanging out with the Morlocks, and Callisto gives Storm shit as well.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you dropped the ball, but let's at least put this aside until Leech is better. Leech is the Morlock who is very sick.
Yeah, Leech is the little green kid that was like stealing apples in that episode where Cyclops and Jean get their date interrupted by the
that's the first Morlock episode.
No, I was thinking about the
later on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yes, again, Callisto just gives Storm more shit, and they patch this up. Wolverine looks around and finds like the Morlock's just absolutely terrible Christmas tree that looks like a bunch of
Charlie
coat
Brown
hangers.
yeah, the Charlie Brown like sad Christmas tree, and he's not he's not real sympathetic or anything yet. Like, he's still going to be a dick for almost the rest of the episode. So don't expect this to engender sympathy in Wolverine.
Not at all.
So he goes over and looks at Leech, kind of checks him out to see how far down he is, and then Jubilee meets who can only be like Mariana. It looks like a little girl version of the tiny Atlantean princess that is on Alpha Flight to me. This little like underwater girl, who is drawn differently than all the Morlocks. Has these like gigantic weird eyes. Really, really strange character that only shows up now. and is not a canonical Morlock.
And will never show up again. And I'm glad you called attention to the eyes, because it's like they made her look like a giant baby doll. And like the fact that Jubilee is basically cradling her this entire episode leans into that a lot. It's a weird design choice, but Jubilee obviously bonds with this unnamed mer girl. And man. Whew.
It is, and it's also, so there's Leech, and Leech has a little buddy in the comics, which is Artie, and they could have just used Artie, but they made a little mer girl instead, for some reason. The reason why Wolverine is checking out Leech, I forgot about this, is Storm commands him to, because he has experience in field medicine.
It's one of his ability, one of his proficiencies.
Yeah, his army things. And he heads over there to take a look at him, to look at Leech, and is like, okay, we'll fly him back to Beast. And it's like, no, this kid's gonna die if we do this.
Yeah,
Wolverine's like, no, he's too far gone.
And they never specify what's wrong with this kid, and they don't. It's not ever going to happen. But like, he doesn't look wounded, so I can only assume it's like maybe a appendicitis or something, like a
blood disease or something.
Yeah, it's really weird. I love Jubilee's line.
Not survive? Leech? No, he can't. Not today. It's Christmas Eve.
Yeah, not today. We cannot lose him. We cannot die on Christmas Eve. Where Jubilee then says to Wolverine, "Please, you're so good at healing yourself. Can't you help Leech?" And Wolverine says, "Don't be crazy. He ain't me," which shows like, it seems they're kind of trying to portray this like Wolverine's being a jerk. All he's doing is pointing out that his blood is not inside Leech, and his healing factor does not apply to other people, which everyone knows.
Yeah,
like this is Jubilee for a moment being the biggest idiot in the world.
Well, and everybody's being a big idiot because everyone wants to do this. Like, it's his mutant healing power. Like, your healing power isn't in your blood. Like, if Jubilee gave someone a transfusion, they're not going to like shoot out fireworks out of their butt the next day. Like, it's not how that shit works.
It is so, and also so there's so much on like just so this transfusion thing. They say like, let's give him a blood transfusion. So thing about that one, Leech does a very specific thing. He has one mutant power, and that is to stop other people from having mutant powers.
Yeah.
Why would this work?
Why would this? I mean, you'd have to run like 10 feet of tube to do this transfusion.
And you have to have like two table boys. Like, you'd have to have Tube Boy to come let all the blood flow through him to get that in. So,
if the healing factor was actually in the blood, he would nullify the blood with his own.
He would shut it down.
Yeah. So,
like out of everybody you could do this to, this wouldn't work. 2, Wolverine says, "I won't do that transfusion because I've done it to 20 people before." And tried.
Excuse me?
Now, hold up.
Hold up, Wolverine. That was not in your dossier.
When did you try to give 20 blood transfusion and only 2 of them worked?
And why have you not told Beast about this? Because if you have like 1/10 is a pretty good ratio. Like, if you could magically heal everyone in the world, that's
who is dying. Like, we need your blood, buddy. He should be like he's the ultimate donor. Like, he's not the universal donor. He's like the omniversal donor. Like, it's just type XXX blood. So this is ridiculous that he's done this 20 times. This has come up so many times in his life that he is bummed out by it. And his point is like, don't even try because it's unlikely, but he knows the kid will die. He's the one who diagnosed him as such. So it is a ridiculous, thing for him to take. A ridiculous tact.
And let's like digging in a little further. Storm is mad at him for not wanting to do this. Storm yells at this dude for that. And I'm like, if anybody here should know this is not how mutant powers work, Storm, like, you've been on the X-Men a long time. You've known Wolverine a long time. Like, if you thought that this would work, why haven't you been storing Wolverine's blood all over the place? Just like, you should know better. Like health potions in the field. What are you doing?
Because it might work. It's not like a Witcher potion where it might kill you as well. Like, it just seems like there's no reason for this. This is silly. Wolverine's being silly. Everyone is being silly. Callisto talks to Ape, like the table boy, and is like, "Did you get the transfusion kit from the ambulance?" And he goes, "Transfusion?" And they say, "Never mind." So why did you send your dumbest Morlocks to like go get the one thing you need so they could come back without it?
Yeah,
like,
Grand Moff Scorpions and Ape the table boy are the ones that you send into the field.
And Grandma Scorpions didn't know? Like, why did you put Ape the Table Boy in charge of, like, eating this up? It is so dumb. So they realized what they should have done this whole time, which is, like, instead of bringing Leech to Beast, we can bring Beast to Leech. We have communicators on our chest. Like, all of us can talk to each other whenever we want. We can get Beast here.
You probably should have done that before you went into the sewers.
It is so ridiculous. So Storm and Wolverine yell at each other some more, and Wolverine like gives it back. Like, she's like, I'm asking you to have the courage to save the child's life. Wolverine says, yeah, he wouldn't be dying if you looked after your people. It's like, Jesus Christ, like, everybody calm down. Like, and also, like, all the X-Men hate each other.
I get that Storm like has some responsibility here for not looking after her crew, but like, presumably she wouldn't directly cure this whatever blood disease that this dude has. Like,
she's supposed to provide them with benefits. Like, she's supposed to pay their Cobra, like, until they can get on Obamacare, and she didn't do it. So.
Yeah, it's real weird, Gary. Like, this is so ridiculous and over the top that I just again, this is probably my favorite episode of the X-Men animated series so far. Like, even with the gross misunderstanding of Wolverine's powers, like, I'm just here for this, man. Especially because this is our moment of joy where Wolverine finally agrees and Table Boy finally ascends to being a table man and becomes the table that Wolverine needs to lay down on.
Boy. Table Boy has become Table Boy. So they put Leech on. He's been laying on this like sacrificial altar kind of thing, the stone, eldritch table. And then Table Boy, who, like, when he becomes this table, he still has a little human face that sticks on the end of it, and that's for Wolverine to lay on. What a weird, hey buddy, like, so when I say that this is not necessarily, like, it would maybe be sadder if he was the table for Christmas dinner, but this is very unsanitary and strange that it happens in a blood transfusion that I totally forgot about. They're just going to do, and we haven't harped on this at all, but they are in a sewer. Like, there's urine particulates everywhere. That they're doing this like blood transfusion, and I'm not a doctor, but I don't think that like you want to mess around with septic shock syndrome when you're doing blood transfusions in the fucking sewer.
I can't, and like, this whole place has to smell so bad. Like, I don't know how Wolverine survives down here. Maybe that's why he hates the Morlocks, is because they smell so bad.
Yeah, they all smell like they've been rooting in shit because they've been rooting in shit.
So this starts, and I don't remember exactly how the dialogue goes, but the baby Morlock that is like curled up in Jubilee's lap says something about like, I think Jubilee says it's going to be a Christmas miracle, and the kid doesn't know what a miracle is, and Jubilee
what's a
gets
miracle?
all sad.
It's like, like, what's miracles? Sniffing, and then Julie's like, well, maybe you'll see in a while. But then luckily we go back to the kitchen.
You did what?
I just gave the ham a little juicing up.
I want this swamp rat out of my kitchen! No!
Stop it. You're both acting like children.
So Gene, Gene's screaming at Gambit, like, you did what? And he goes like, I just give the ham a little juicing up. And Gene then takes the ham and throws it, like, hucks it at his face, which Cyclops zaps out of the air. Like...
And don't forget that Gene calls him a swamp rat. I want the swamp rat out of my kitchen. And I love that because that he like just decided to help uninvited, right? Like, it wasn't like, hey, who wants to help, cook or anything. Gambit was just like, Gambit cook, Gambit help, you all good. And then just walked into the kitchen, and then everyone looked at each other kind of like, oh. And then Gene followed him afterwards and just spent the entire time stopping him from adding, habanero spices to every little dish. But all the cooking suggestions he's making seem reasonable and good to me. Like, Christmas food is really bland, and probably could use some cayenne pepper in time. And like, he's Cajun. Like, trust us, we know what we're doing.
Yeah. Like, there's a lot of things you can say about Cajuns, but like, they're good at food.
Yeah, we're number 49 in the state for public education, but like, we're on like consistently number one food tours of the USA.
There's three things that like Gambit and his people know. It's teething, a tassing, and cooking. So it just feels like Gene is out of line. Like, what is Gene gonna make? You know, her parents were professors. Like, she's going to make some dry ass turkey, some like Stouffer's stuffing, you know, like Jean, I don't have that much faith in Jean in cooking this. You could like telekinetically brine the turkey, but
somehow, if she somehow made a dry ham, like that's fucking up. And you need to like Gambit take over immediately.
Yeah.
What did you do to make a dry ham?
it's just like put it in the dehydrator or something like that. And then like the fact that she hooks the ham at him, like I don't even want to fucking eat this now that you put your devil spices on it. You pervert swamp person.
Which,
like,
I mean, in Gene's defense, like you might think that there's some like GHB mixed up with that cayenne in time. Like you just never know. It is Gambit.
Because Gambit does keep all of his spices with him, and he gets them mixed up on his spice belt. You know, just imagine him going to a fast food restaurant, just pouring cayenne pepper on like a fucking burger. Like, so that's kind of the climax of the Gambit Gene storyline. But you know, Scott breaking it up, but it's very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was at a Tool concert one time in New Orleans, and I forget which Mike Patton project it was. I think it was Tomahawk, but Mike Patton was playing before Tool was opening for Tool, and the crowd was just not into whatever weird noise shit Mike Patton was putting out there, and they just were not into that at all. They started booing him and yelling at him, and he basically was fucking with the crowd. And he's like, "Look, I can sit here all night and play. They're chilling in the back. They're having a great time. Like they don't have to come out on stage." Like, and then he just started actively making fun of the crowd and saying stuff like, "Y'all want some cayenne on this music?" like fuck, Mike Patton, what are you doing? That was a good show. Mike Patton making fun of an entire culture.
That is pretty fun. Well, they keep putting cayenne pepper on shit, man.
That's true.
Fucked up. So Wolverine, you know, shows up. They do their X-Men emergency, and they all have to take the tunnels.
So wait,
there.
because they've received the message from Storm and said like, hey, you need to bring Beast. So Xavier tells Rogue to carry Beast to the sewers, and I'm like, don't you guys have like a jet plane? Which pick your fastest transportation method.
in the comics, I don't know if this is established in the cartoon. In the comics, the Morlock tunnels are attached to the mansion. Like if you keep going down far enough, you eventually just run into the tunnels. Which makes Storm being, you know, derelict in her duties even worse. Like it's like she just doesn't go to the living room. It's the equivalent of such.
I don't feel like going to the basement today. Let them rot. Queen Storm says. Oh man. So yeah, Xavier orders Rogue to carry Beast down there. Meanwhile, they're giving Jubilee like the grand tour of Sewer Christmas.
And Sewer Christmas is extremely sad.
Sewer Christmas is not great.
And yeah, like the whole time, like it is like, you know, they show the sad ass Christmas tree, and she's like, "Oh, it's the most beautiful Christmas tree I've ever found." And the little girl's like, "Well, Leech found it," you know. And then she looks over at their dinner, which is just like, you know, in Game of Thrones, when in the poor part of the main city, they talk about how they their food is this thing called bowl of brown.
Yep.
Is what they call it. And it's just kind of like a thin stew. And that's what it seems like. They're all having like bowls of brown, you know, just like here's some goop, that they're going to eat. And Jubilee can't contain like, just like, that's your Christmas dinner, you know?
And then Storm comes along and tells her the worst thing ever, which is that it's totally okay for people to live like this and that you shouldn't help them because they have a family that loves them. And I'm like, you could probably just give that motherfucker the ham that Jean Grey just tossed on the floor. That's better than your bowl of brown.
We did just cut from Jubilee in order to because she is mad at the concept of spice. Wasting an entire Christmas ham, or Jean Grey rather. So, and yeah, because like, Jubilee's like, how can they be happy? They have nothing, which is like a real condescending, you know, privileged thing to say. And that's when Storm's like, they have each other, they have a family. As long as you're part of a caring family, every day of the year is Christmas. It would do us all well to remember that. I'm sorry, Storm.
That's not true, Storm. That's not a thing. Every day is not Christmas. That's why it's Christmas, dog. What the fuck are you talking about?
That is so Callisto looks over at Leech at this point and is like, he should be better now, and starts yelling at Wolverine, and Wolverine like gets up and he's like, I told you it wouldn't work, this is stupid. Like everyone is just yelling at each other and screaming at each other until Beast shows up to actually take a look. and actually check vitals, because as opposed to Callisto is just kind of like, I'm eyeballing him and I think that he should be better now because, me, I'm Callisto, I'm leader of the Morlocks and also like an expert in triage and diagnosis. Beast comes in and says, actually, no, he is getting better.
Yeah. So this is actually working. I really thought, for whatever reason, when they did the thing with the tree and said, Leech found the tree, I thought the tree was going to be weirdly poisonous somehow, and like Jubilee was going to figure that out and be like, oh yeah, you just need to give him like the antidote or whatever, and like Wolverine's blood would have never worked, and so that would have been fine, but they would have, like, Beast would have the antidote for this weird poisonous Christmas tree, and that would be the episode.
That would have been a better plot.
Sure.
And that would have been tragic for Leech, like, trying to find a Christmas tree and messing it up, like sacrificing himself in order to, like, help bring his family joy or whatever. Yeah, I would have liked that much better. There's some really, really terrible Beast dialogue here where Beast kind of explains what's going on. Wolverine's recuperative powers are nothing short of miraculous. Their mutative origins, however, are a mystery to medical science. The efficacy of their transference is impossible to predict. Just kind of, restating the same thing over and over and over here. Everyone yells at him until he eventually checks, and then Leech wakes up.
Yeah, and he's all better. Woohoo!
Yeah,
and this is the scene where Storm starts acting all haughty towards Callisto and demands whatever the scepter of power is, which I would just imagine is like just an old toilet brush that they found in the sewer that somebody spray painted like yellow.
Stick. Yeah, like, give us the Morlock pleasing stick.
But she demands this, and basically like
so it says like kneel.
Yeah, like kneel
I
in
command
front of
you.
me. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is, kneel before me. The scepter of power is mine by right of single combat. And you're like, well, shit. But then she gives the power back to Callisto, which, like, Callisto rises and stuff. And this is presented as like a good move for Storm. It is not. This is her being like, actually, I don't want to deal with this responsibility. Because she took over, like, it's not like the Morlocks were good under Callisto. Like, they fucking kidnapped Jean Grey.
I was about to say, like, the last thing that Callisto did is when she was a leader was kidnap Jean Grey to force her into, to be able to bait Cyclops so that she could force marry Cyclops.
Yeah. Like, she was going to force marry one of the X-Men. And that is why you took over leadership. And you come down here and you see, like, oh, these guys actually get sick and they want Christmas dinner. I'm leaving. Like, Storm is like the worst deadbeat dad. In this show,
absolutely,
and just like, no, what, you get full custody, toots. I don't even need to worry about this.
The child is yours. I'm moving to Baltimore. Bye. Which is weird because Storm wasn't even on that episode, the Proteus episode, where we saw that terrible Scottish father abandon his kid. So you would think that,
yeah,
I guess she didn't learn that lesson.
They should hook up.
Mm-hmm.
And then so this is what cures Wolverine of his grumps. So Wolverine walks up and says,
"What's a fella have to do to get a glass of orange juice and a cookie around here?"
Make that two.
Yeah, because Leech leaps in his arms, right? Like he's holding.
He's recovered quick.
Also, just to go back to your point, like, unless Leech can turn that shit on and off, Wolverine should be dead right now. Anytime he gets around Leech.
Can you imagine if that happened? He left into his arms and then Wolverine ages rapidly. Yeah, like it turns into an old man and then just drops Leech and then, like, his bones crack and crumble. And
Merry Christmas, Leech everybody.
He just that's the end. He crawls away and then they cut 2 weeks of recovery as, like, Wolverine recovers from the Creutzfeldt Jacob disease and Alzheimer's that has riddled his mind. Man. So after they happen, it seems like it's all heartwarming, but then Callisto says, like, as leader of the Morlocks, I give an invitation to all X-Men to join us for Christmas dinner. And nobody does the, like, okay.
I don't really. I'm kosher. Sorry. I gotta go.
Yeah. That's what it seems like I would do. To this, but everyone stays, and Jubilee. So here's the part we talked about earlier. Jubilee says, like, "Oh, half these gifts are filled with food." So what Jubilee was doing was went to a department store and then decided to buy gift wrapped food, a lot of it,
and then bring it all into the sewer with her.
Yeah. So they don't eat the bowls of brown. Earlier they did set this up where she's like, maybe I should get more food for dinner or something, but it doesn't change the fact that they're opening up gift wrapped presents full of like hams and shit.
And presumably
down
all
here.
cooked food. Like you're going to open this like nice box of Dillard's, and it's going to be like a plate of macaroni and cheese, or like just a Tupperware macaroni and cheese thing.
We went to the hot bar at JCPenney. Just give yourself a scoop of baked beans and coleslaw and just you're like, wrap it to go. It's Christmas. Like, it just goes to show her orphan fucking understanding of Christmas, which is not very good.
Or the writers for that matter, because presents full of food just does not make a lot of sense. And of course, like everybody thinks this is really nice of Jubilee to give up all of this food that she bought for other people to these people who are in need of it.
Yeah. And they leave the other X-Men back at the mansion. Like this invitation that extends to all X-Men. It's not like the X-Men are all together, because we go back to the mansion and like, they're eating and, Wolverine's happy. Everyone's happy. And it's like, well, there are a couple of cooks back at the mansion that aren't going to be happy. And then I guess this is the actual finale of the Gambit Jean C plot.
What do you mean not eating? Gambit has spent days on this meal. My oyster loaf. My dough glacé.
We could warm it up tomorrow.
Warm it up? You do not warm up such a meal. Gambit does not make TV dinner.
Oyster loaf. Is that a thing that you people eat?
I guess.
Have you ever had an oyster loaf?
I don't really do much oysters. Like I'll do some straw grilled oysters every once in a while, but I don't do raw oysters, and I don't really like fried oysters or anything. But the only thing I can think of is like Autumn does a like a seafood Thanksgiving Day stuffing. So she'll put like shrimp and crawfish into the with the cornbread with the breadcrumbs and all that stuff and make like a delicious seafood stuffing. I guess you could probably do oysters and then call that like an oyster loaf if you really wanted to. So
like an oyster stuffing that you just kind of put into into a mold.
Oh no! Wait a minute. This says it's the San Francisco oyster loaf recipe, but it literally pastry with a bunch of oyster shit stuffed inside.
Yeah.
Wait.
Yeah.
Hold on. This looks just like a normal fucking po' boy. Like I gotta. Like if he's cooking,
and they're calling it a loaf.
Yeah, if he's cooking this for come on Discord, I might have to link it. I'm sorry. If he's cooking this for Christmas, like what? This isn't good. Like this is just a sandwich.
Yeah, he's made everybody a fried oyster sandwich, which that looks edible to me. Like I like a po' boy. I like a New Orleans style sandwich. I don't know what he's doing here with the sandwich. I don't like how this is called Louisiana oyster loaf either. Like words have meaning. Like loaf means something with regards to food. Cajuns. Just you gotta learn it. This is so he's saying this and Jean Grey's like, well, we can reheat it, and we get the greatest line in the history of this show.
Which I'm probably gonna...
is Gambit does not make TV dinners. So good.
Oh man, this episode is so good, Gary.
It's really good, and that's the episode. Jubilee like talks to him, says like, hey, I didn't want I didn't want you to think that I didn't want to have Christmas with the X-Men, and Professor X says like, you'll be missed, but your generous sacrifice indicates that you understand how much more you're needed where you are. So I'm very proud of you.
And then
and that's the
a preview for the Morph episode, which was like 10 episodes
which happened many episodes ago. I think this is like really has it all.
It really does.
It is.
It's a great episode. The Jean Grey and Gambit interaction is some of my favorite shit in the world, Gary. I love it so much.
It is weirdly sweethearted, like this episode in a way that's dumb, but also in a way that's kind of good. Like the Morlock stuff is silly, but like it's a good message for a cartoon. To have this happen, like it's pretty classic, very special episode material, and the bonkersness and Wolverine just being so hostile and everyone yelling at each other the whole time makes it feel very like full of life.
It does. And just like how just Jubilee's wonder at it all. Like, Jubilee, you're
Yeah.
17 years old. Where have you been? Have you been in some weird torture chamber in Moira's apartment? Like, is that where you've been in your entire life?
In the basement. Did someone set you to electrocute? Yeah.
What a strange and wonderful episode this is, Gary. I'm glad it lived up to the hype. Because even though Table Boy, like, no, they didn't eat Christmas dinner off of Table Boy, he still, like, sacrificed himself to let Wolverine lay on top of him, which is, Wolverine's is a heavy dude. Like, that dude's not light.
Yeah, he weighs several tons. Like, it is they at least treat him like a subhuman monster, which is what I thought was essentially the main thrust of his Table Boyism. And here, there's no change. Like, he's definitely treated like a real piece of garbage here. So pretty impressive stuff. I love this episode. I'm glad that we got to it. I think that even if you don't like this show, if you just like Weird TV, like, everyone should watch this. If you can find a way to watch it.
We've never really said that before. Like, we always kind of, I think we rely on our description of the action of the episodes and say, like, this is, with a couple of exceptions, like, you don't really need to watch this to understand, like, this podcast. But, man, I just go out and get this episode. Like, go YouTube it or whatever. Like, I don't know if it's out there. I didn't look for it that way, but, like, go find it and watch it because it is fucking hysterical. I was just, like, cackling maniacally at the screen, like, just from the first minute. Like, as soon as they started singing and Cyclops was just terrible, I was like, Jesus Christ, what have I gotten into?
It's because it's the real thing, like the very special, favorite best part of the series is always going to be like the X-Men just kind of palling around and showing their domestic life and things like that. Always ends up being so funny, and this is almost all that.
I wish the modern movies would learn that lesson. Just give us
like some hangout scenes. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to be all the hangout. Like, I understand, like, I like action. I like these fight scenes quite a bit, but it's like, it's hard to say, like, eventually we'll get to Apocalypse. And I feel like that's a really good example of, like, them not getting the mix. Like, there's a little bit of hangout stuff. And there's some fight scenes that are kind of fun, but then there's large swaths of the movie that are just dumb. And those parts, we spend a lot of time on. Like, it feels like you're spending time on the wrong things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Give me some daily life chill out time and give me some fights, and that is what I would like.
I haven't. I've heard that there's an extended version of Apocalypse where they do more with the teenage X-Men in, like, a local mall or whatever. But I haven't bought that Blu-ray or whatever to go find that stuff. I should go look at that.
Yeah, whenever we eventually cover it for the show, that'll be a good.
Yeah, sure.
A good excuse to just Amazon the extended edition or whatever, like Runt. So I'm looking forward to that. Looking forward to everything that we have remaining, because the next 4 episodes we're covering over two episodes of this show are extremely weird and more like the last 2 episodes. Like, this was a little island of quality in the middle of this.
The next 4 are interesting. Just as a little preview, I find I actually kind of dug some of the stuff that they were doing. There's just a couple of things about it that's just fucking awful that bring down the entire thing. But, like, some of it was really good. So I'm looking forward to talking about those with you, because it's going to be fun to get into.
Yeah, there's tons of good stuff. It is, I think it's the cartoon's attempt to do a crossover called a little bit like the Executioner's Song, which is where Strife was introduced in this. And it's a little bit of that, like a little bit of the 12, like, kind of mixed up, like 2 kind of famous X-Men crossovers. I guess this was way before the 12, but they do talk about, like, collecting 12 psychics for Apocalypse. So there's a little bit of a lot of DNA in there, but it is just kind of all of the major villains showing up and teaming up in kind of like a conspiracy set of episodes with the single worst framing device that the cartoon has ever done.
It's not good. But until then, what's happening right now? We
normal stuff.
I'm trying to figure out
Patreon.
your Patreon. Well, I was trying to think if they were listening to this on the early feed, or are they listening to it
if Duckstream is still. I think they will be listening to it during. I think it'll come out on the 9th.
Okay.
Or 10th. So it's kind of, there might be just a little bit of time left for Duckstream, but mostly for people who are listening to this even on early release, like, you probably already are aware of that, and we thank you for tuning in.
Absolutely. And if you want to support the show directly, you can go to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv. A couple bucks a month there will get you access to cool stuff. You get episodes early. You can get access to the Slack channel. You can vote on the games that Gary and Cole are going to cover on their Good Games podcast and their Bad Games podcast, which is always a lot of fun. It's a really cool place, especially the Slack. The Slack remains one of the coolest things on the internet that I've ever been a part of. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very fun. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so check that out. You can also rate and review this show. Tell all your friends about it, and that's really appreciated. You can follow us on Twitter. I'm at GaryBuh, GaryBuh,
and I am at JG Greer. And yeah, come talk to us about the X-Men. I will fight you by saying that if you say this episode is a bad episode.
Well, yeah, and have a good holiday, folks.
Yeah, good. Happy holidays, everybody.
Yeah.